Welcome to the channel, guys. Welcome to my stream and another chapter. I believe it's chapter 7 this time. Chapter 7, is it 7? I don't know. I lost count. Working on that guy right there. That's our M2A3 Bradley with Busk 3. Busk, what does it stand for? We'll figure that out in a minute. First we'll roll the credits and we'll get into it, okay? Okay, so we're back and we're going to continue on the build, and I'm going to answer that question. What is Busk 3? I believe I googled it, and we'll see how good my memory is. Bradley Urban Survival Kit. I believe that's what it means. Exactly what the details are in, maybe it's the additional armor and stuff they put on it, I don't know. But we're not really going to worry about that right now. What I'm going to worry about is drinking my Coke. No, we're going to continue on the build. You might notice this thing looks a little different than last time, and that's merely because I was just test fitting the upper hull. The upper hull on this had a whole bunch of like ejector pins sticking out all over it, so I trimmed those all off and just kind of played around with it. So last time we got our engine installed. You also might notice I've got a big white mat here. As I'm doing a little test today, we're doing some testing on the camera, because my other camera, I was told that it's trying to find something to focus on all the time. We're going to try just a plain white sheet of paper on my desk, and we'll see how that does. Anyway, so we've got our engine installed. We got that done last time. Last time basically just did a whole lot of painting. And even just like looking at this, I'm reminded that I needed to paint this little guy here some olive drab color, and so I need to do that. Do I have olive drab sitting on my desk? I've got this, yes. Let me just paint this real quick, and then we'll actually get into doing, you know, when paint has been used a lot, sometimes the paint acts like glue. So, let me find my brush here. Just need to paint this little half moon kind of thing and get that done. So, we'll just throw a little paint on that, and then we can worry about what's next. Now, don't worry guys, this isn't going to be another 1 hour long session of painting. I won't do that when I get into you, at least for a while. At least for a little while anyway. I know there are some of you, I have been thanked for finally showing painting on my videos. So that tells me some people actually do like to watch this kind of thing, to actually watch painting being done. I don't know. I would appreciate it if you guys let me know if you like the painting parts. I'd like to know that. Would you guys want to see more of my detail painting in my videos? I invite you to drop a comment down below and let me know. Or if you're actually watching this live, let me know now. Because, you know, you guys who watch me live, I got people who do watch me live, and yet they stay silent. They don't say anything. I guess they just put me on in the background and do other stuff. Rather than interacting, they just watch. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But, yeah, sometimes I feel like I am doing this live and there ain't nobody watching me live. I do sometimes feel like that when I got my chat is just dead chat. But, you know, like I said, it is what it is. Okay, so that little piece just needed a little bit of olive paint on there. I'll change the camera so you can see a little bit easier what I just did. Up here, just painted this little piece right there. Right, just add a little paint on there, give him some love. So what are we going to do here? we have to go back to our book after the assembly of our transmission and our air intake. Then we had the bulkhead assembly for the driver, and then we have some decals that are supposed to go on there. We're not going to do that yet. I'm not going to do the decals on the camera. I'll do that off camera. Then we installed the engine and transmission, and that's all installed now. So that means, other than decals, this page is done. So we flip over. Oh, guess what? We've got some more pieces I've got to paint. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly grab my K and L sprues. K and L, where are you here? That's M, N, P, S, K and L. Oh, our two gray sprues here. We need to paint some black and some silver. So our little hose L23 is supposed to be black. Now it's a hose, so I would assume this really should be rubber black. Where's my rubber black? Because it's a hose. It's not a pipe, it's a hose. So let's just give her some rubber black. So it's also, the rubber black's going to look a little more, just that little bit different from regular black too. So go around her. There we go. Okay. So that's done. Now the other parts need to be silver. Problem with white is it's gonna get dirty fast. K6 and K22. I want to paint them silver before we put them on there. Before installation. Because they're small, it's going to be hard to paint them if I install them first. So let's grab some silver. Shake this up a bit. Okay, I want number 6 and 22. They do show in the top corner of the page here how 22 is going to be installed. So this is 22. This is a funny looking little piece here. So make him silver. Okay, that's done. And then we want 22. So that was 22, sorry. I need number 6. Number 6 right there. This little guy. In similar fashion to the green sprue, where I just kind of went over every part that was on the sprue and I painted it green, I did the same thing with everything I got left over on this sprue. Considering the entire engine and transmission assembly were painted in gunmetal color, so I went through all these pieces and rods and things like that, and I painted them all gunmetal also, just in, you know, kind of anticipation of having to do other stuff like that. But here I am painting these parts silver instead of gunmetal. Okay, I'll clean my brush, which should be enough to I see a little spot on my engine that I accidentally hit with the rust paint that I didn't want to. I didn't want this pipe here to be rusted. I want that to be gunmetal color, so I need to just touch that up with a little bit of gunmetal, just a little touch on there. You know, I find if I go, oh yeah, I'll do that later, what happens is I wind up forgetting about it completely and I don't do it later. So there we go. Okay. Alright, parts are painted. So the first one we got is our hose here, L23. So let's get that one off here. That should be dry, yep. If you don't load the paint on too thick, it'll dry really quickly for you. There we go. I think that's the last part on this sprue. Yes, it is. So that can be gone, throw away. Alright, so now I've got a nub mark. It's going to need a little bit of touch up right there, depending on the visibility. Depending on the angle that this is going to sit in there at, I might have to touch that up. So it's going to go like this, in this direction. They don't show where this fitting goes into. Oh yes, they do, very subtly. This fitting goes down into this part of that muffler kind of thing, whatever the heck this thing is. Right into that. So it goes into that little spot there. Which tells me this other piece here that's on this side, remember I broke that off last time and wound up having to re-glue that in? So it tells me that this should be black also. Because why have one black but not the other? You know what I mean? So, they show that going down, just kind of tucking down in here somewhere. I imagine it's supposed to go somewhere though. I guess it goes down on either on top or beside this thing here. If I line that up, it just kind of sits like this. Now I'm okay with it sitting like that. For me, it's just about, is that where it's supposed to go? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thicker glue so that I can touch the tip of it here. Put it in its little hole, and then that's where it seems to line up. It's right there, like that. And I mean, it lines up perfectly on that little circle there, so that is where I think it's supposed to go. So I'll put some glue on that spot there where it's touching. And that's where we're going to leave it. I definitely want to paint this hose black also, just because so it matches. And then keep this fitting here as the gunmetal color, and I want to do that on this fitting too once this is dried. So yeah. Oops, don't move it too much. I have to reapply my glue. Something that is kind of funny about, see, now that I've lowered the hose down, it doesn't really line up anymore. If I get the fitting in there properly so that the fitting looks right. Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at case 6, which is supposed to go down on the transmission. It looks like it's going to attach over here and then somewhere around in here. Maybe right there. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. Let's grab case 6. Case 6 looks like it's some kind of linkage. And so they show it in this orientation, and is there any pins sticking out the bottom that's going to guide me on this? I I'm not sure. No. There's no pin, there's no hole. Oh, there is a hole. There's a hole right there into that spot, and that's supposed to go right there. On that spot. And so if I do that, this now has to go under the hose. So this should actually be, I'm going to remove my hose. This has to come off. This has to go first. They don't tell me that, but there's two little indents there to line up on these two little pegs. And of course, had I left my hose on there, I would not have been able to put this into the spot it's supposed to go. And even in that, it doesn't really want to go in its spot. Get in your hole, there you go. Ah! Okay, let's try this again. Using my big fat fingers. That's where it's lining up right there. But it's not lining up on this little peg here. But that's okay, we'll get it. Eventually I'll get it. Or maybe the floor will get it. Okay, the right way around. Okay, it's in its spot. Let's add some glue. Okay. With it in its spot, it should stay there. But it's not lining up properly. I want to use something a little more hefty than a blade while I try this. Get this side to line up. It's supposed to sit on this little peg over on this edge. But she doesn't really fit. So I'm gonna have to kind of try and figure this out. How are we gonna get that to line up? I'm gonna try holding it. Put some glue down there. Just kind of hold it here for a second and see how she does. Meanwhile, let's have a look at our hose again. So our hose has to go down there. So I was wrong, the hose doesn't sit on top of this little spot. It kind of goes down in behind it. could. It looks like the hose could maybe go onto this round thing here. Just like that. That might be where it's supposed to go. Like this. That looks pretty good. Let's see what happens when I let go of this little arm here. Because the arm wants to raise up. It looks like she's going to hold. So there we go. So the last part, we need K22, and we need to put in our intake. So our intake here, we're going to have this grill side facing up. And where does he go? He goes, looks like he goes into this little area right here. Looks like he's going right in between these. Like this. And fits perfectly in there. So there we go. But we got K22 needs to go onto the front of him. And he looks like he's kind of some kind of a little guard of some sort. It's going to go on there. You see that there, how K22 is going to sit in there. It's hard to tell whether that's supposed to go on before or after. So let's just get him off the sprue and we'll find out. All of his little fingers here, they are a little bit delicate. Now mine, out of the box, I had a couple of these were bent funny, so they weren't sitting, these two here, they weren't really sitting spaced apart properly. As you can tell, I put my knife in there. Yeah, they don't sit, they're not all perfectly spaced. Mine were a little bit bent right out of the package. So they show this like this, and this sitting like that. Kind of like sitting on there like this. But they show it kind of tucked in behind. So if this is already in there, like so, this guy facing like this goes down in here like this. They don't show any real specific point of contact for it. It just looks like it's supposed to be some kind of a guard, but at the same time it just kind of goes down in behind. Like this, and just kind of sits there. So I can buy that. I mean, it's not really going to interfere. I just need to put some glue either along here or along here. It's not going to really matter. So I'll use my thin stuff. And I'll slather some on there. And on this side. And before that cures, or dries, get it in there. Do a couple of touches here. Make sure he's in a spot. There we go. And that should do it. Yep, he's held in. He's got his new home now. Now as for this guy, or K22, it's a little ambiguous exactly how he's supposed to fit in there. So I think I'll just use my thicker glue, put a little dab on the tips of it, put him down in there, and where he sits is where he's going to sit. So, is that an air conditioner? It's actually the air intake for the engine. This is where the engine gets its air from. Yeah, the engine air intake system is what they're calling it. So let's just put him down in here, touch him on there, put him back, and I think that's as good a installation spot as any. Just like that. That's how I got mine going in. Just like that. And that's kind of how they show it in this picture. Up here. That's how they show it sitting, so that's how I got mine, just kind of sitting there. Yeah, just kind of like that. Yeah. Okay. So that's step 17. Step 18, I missed a color here. MC403. I gotta go back in my book. 403 is red. So we've got a little red canister here. M24. M24, I believe, is green. M3 is green. That's this guy here. So like I said, I got everything painted the same color as the interior, except I gotta paint that little canister green. So I'm gonna grab my X7 Tamiya. And just do a little bit of painting on this. Close up my glue in case I accidentally bump them. Paint our little canister here. Makes you wonder what this thing is. It's not a fire extinguisher. If it was, it wouldn't be shaped like that. It would be more of a, I guess, a longer cylinder. It would be longer if it was an actual fire extinguisher. But at the same time, this could be some kind of fire control system. Being that it's red usually indicates something like that. Some kind of fire retardant. Here we go. Okay, got some red on there. There we go. Got a little red canister and all that green. So I'll clean my brush, and by the time I got my brush cleaned, it should be dry. And we can install it. And then we can finally put those seats in. Remember those seats that we painted last time? We got our bench seats in. Okay, let's get this off the screw. Might be a little tacky to the touch right now, but be careful not to cut my little tube, whatever this tube is. All right, there we go. Now where does this guy go? If we turn the turn the tank around, this guy goes in, he's going to go in right here, which tells me these canisters are probably going to be red also. I didn't even pay attention to that when I installed those. Let me take a look. Let's go back to the point where we are putting those canisters, that little wall in. When did that happen? Well, it wasn't in step 1, that's for sure. It wasn't step 7 or 8 or 9, 10 or 11. Build the engine. What did I do? Why did I put that in? Oh, there it is. And so, yes, those canisters are also supposed to be red. So somehow I jumped ahead to step 20. I think I jumped ahead to step 20 because I had to paint the seats and get those done. That's why I jumped ahead. See, I went and jumped ahead and then I don't know what I'm doing. That's silly me. So before I put that in or do any more, I'm going to paint these 2 canisters. I'm going to get my red out again. Maybe shut-off system versus gas or flame? Yeah, maybe. Just the fact that these things are red tells me they're some kind of fire retardant. I should have painted these before putting them in the tank, because now that they're in there, it's hard to get at the angles without touching other things, and using such a contrasting color to the green, if I accidentally touch the green, it's going to be difficult to cover up. So I need to be careful here. Of course, with the angle that we're going to be able to see these things, you got to make sure you get those angles too. I could get away with it if for some reason I need to repaint. I could do these straps in like a silver, simply because realistically these probably are silver metal straps that are not painted the same as the rest of the interior. Getting in here is tough. That's another challenge, holding it at the angle that I can see, but also access. do our tops, and then we're done. Okay. Almost done. There we go. Okay. Canisters are red now. I didn't do a, especially on this one. Let me just do a better job at this one here. The closer my face gets, the better job I do. Okay, here we go. Now, oops, I guess my air intake didn't really glue down very good. I got to put some more glue on there. Let's see, sometimes when I watch people brush paint, they first paint brown on wet, down on wet towel of some sorts, and they get paint on the brush, then wipe it off on something because they got too much. It's hilarious. Yeah. I know that there's a lot of guys who do a lot of brush painting. They do use what they call a wet palette, where they can keep the paints out for quite a while and they don't dry up. It's that's not something I've ever used myself because I don't really do a lot. I mean, yes, for me, brush painting is more of a necessary evil. Okay, now we've taken our sweet time with that, and we got this guy to go in. Now this nub is going to be visible, so I got to clean that now. Be careful when you're cleaning nubs on these little pipes and stuff. It's very easy to dig in too hard with your knife. Okay, so this has to go in. These two little tabs are going to go into the wall. Kind of. It's like the tabs on the part are too big for the tabs on the wall. But it is just going to sit like that. So what I'm going to do, this nub on this thing, this pipe is bugging me. It's bugging me. It's saying, look at me, look at me. Okay, I want to reduce the size on these little tabs, just to help them fit in there a little bit. Okay, I'm going to get some thicker glue and pick this up and hopefully not drop it again. Holding onto it like this. Glue on that tab, glue on this tab. And get it in its new home. I'm actually going to tip this up. There we go. So our pipe is actually touching the wall there. So now that I've got that, I need to, I'm going to run some glue along there, some of my super thin, because my transmission is not being held. I keep calling it the transmission. It's not the transmission, it's the air intake. It's not being held in very well. Okay, so we've got our 3 little tanks mounted in. 3 little red tanks. Those are nice and noticeable in there, that's for sure. I'm gonna have to do some weathering to soften that up and make them not so red in your face-ish. Okay, so the other thing we need to do is I want to go and get our seats installed. So we got these all painted up last time, right? That green looks really strange. It reminds me of a Lamborghini. Yeah, the green is really they call it sky green is what they call out for in the instructions, and doing a Google search of what their color call out is calls for X15 light green in the Tamiya. Okay, but I found that way too bright. Like, that's a really bright green. I've painted the lid there so you can see this, the color, what that is. That would have been totally ridiculous on the inside there. Totally ridiculous color and not realistic. I Googled, searched the interior of these things to see what they really look like, and with adding a little bit of red to it, I came up with a green that looks like this, and did that, and so that's what we've come up with. It's the color that I have here. A lot more realistic in the tone of it. The camera still really saturates the color on it, so it doesn't look quite so greenish in real life. And maybe when I get some still pictures done of this thing and take it, put it up on my Instagram or whatever, it should look a little bit more realistic to what it is. Yeah. At least. That's what I'm hoping anyway. It's not Lamborghini green, that's for sure. Okay, our seats. Now, we've already figured this out before, is we've got these little long tabs on the sides, on the walls here, like here, here, and on this side here. Okay, right there and there. These tabs, and that's where these seats are going to go. And they just sit down on top of them. So the bottom bracket here is going to sit. So the seat's not going to quite sit on the floor. They're going to kind of hang in the air like this. And so the tab that's on the back of the seat, the tab that's on the back of the seat back here, that kind of helps it sits, keeps it from dangling down too far. It kind of rests right on the edge of the, well, the edge, yeah. It rests on the edge. So we can just do that. Put that seat down on there, and that's where she's going to sit. Just like that. Okay. And then all 3 of them are just kind of, they just kind of dangle like that. Like so. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to utilize both my glues. My extra thin is going to go on that bottom bracket and get ready. It's going to soften up the plastic a little bit. And I'll use thicker stuff to actually go on the bottom bracket of the seat itself and at the bottom edge of this thing. And then line them up. Line them up on that bracket there. And hold them for a sec. And I want to have this held up because that's where it's gonna, just the weight is gonna, using gravity to my advantage here. And keep it sitting like that for a minute. So the next seat we're gonna do is gonna be on the same side. It's our two-seater, this guy here. And he's gonna go on the other bracket right beside it. So I'll do the same thing. Use a little bit of my extra thin on that little bracket there. And this guy, he's got the little notch right in the center of it, right there. You see how the center's got a notch? That's where it goes, okay? So that's where I'm putting my glue. And again on the center of that little back piece. Pick this up so I can line it up properly. There we go. Done. Okay. So let that dry for a minute. Because if you move it around too much, especially with this glue, if you move it around too much, the glue basically doesn't hold. It's best to do right away and set it and leave it. If you have to move the piece around and adjust it, you're going to have to put more glue. TV on the other side? Yeah, that'd be nice, eh? You guys get to watch TV while they're riding in the back. No, unfortunately, on the other side is literally another seat. So they don't get that luxury of watching TV while they're riding. We have a triple seater for the other side. And the triple seater, he's got two notches. So one notch here, and then the other one starts right there. There and there. So once again, you have to get it lined up nicely. So let's again put some of our extra thin along these two little things, get that prepared, the plastic being softened. Put some glue on this tab and on the back of these. Alright, try and get this lined up where it needs to be. It's pretty close. If it's not lined up, you'll know pretty quick because the seat won't sit properly. And I'm having that issue right now. There we go. Perfect. There we go. So our seats are in the air, just like they're supposed to be. There you go. At least coffee table in the middle. Well, I'm going to go with no. I don't think there's enough room for them to actually walk in here and have a table in the middle. They just get to sit across from each other and play rock, paper, scissors all day. That's what they get to do. Okay, that's step 18 done. Step 19, we already done. We already got 19 done. That was done maybe a couple episodes ago. 19 is done. Getting our turret basket bulkhead assembly. That's what this is. Okay? That's already done. So, flip our page. Step 20. Step 20, I think we mostly already have done. We already have the back wall in. That's already done. Okay. And of course we had their little fire extinguisher things there. They're already in there. So now we can put in this piece and our turret bulkhead. This piece here, the P14, I already painted that silver. So that's done. I did look online. I was wondering, is this thing actually supposed to be silver? And sure enough, looking online, yes, when you see this poking through the bottom of this railing here, it definitely is silver. And this guy, he just goes in behind in this little channel here. As I figured out last time, it just goes in there like that. And it's a bit of a funny way that he goes. Put that in there first. Comes in on this side of that wall. And he fits in this little notch, which might actually put him on the other side of this wall, like he wanted to go in the first place. So let's try this. That makes it a tight fit though. Good thing plastic is bendy. So I don't know if it's actually supposed to go there, but let's just try it again on this side. There's a little channel that it fits into. There we go. But it's, once it gets here, it doesn't want to fit in this channel anymore. So he's all good here. This is all fine. It's when we get to here that it's suddenly not quite right. Well, if I shove it in there and hold it, with glue it'll hold. If I let go, it's going to pop out like that. But if I put some glue in there, you should be okay. So let me get my glue ready here. Okay, let's glue them in there. Now I'm going to have to hold it for a minute because he really wants to come out. As long as I hold him long enough, let that glue do its thing, and just hold it, the glue should be fine. The glue, I just have to give it a minute. So in that minute that I need to give it, I'm going to have a drink of my Coke. And of course our bulkhead is supposed to go in here too. And if I can get this to hold long enough that I can put the bulkhead in there, the bulkhead will prevent it from coming out of the slot, because the bulkhead won't let it go anywhere. At the same time though, my bulkhead is going to sit right there, and I need to have it glued also. So the question becomes, where do I apply the glue on the bulkhead? Because getting it in there is going to be, and then trying to get in there with my glue is going to be tough. So I want to glue first down at the bottom, if I can. It's a little bit tough. I've already test fit, so I know where this goes. There's a little notch at the back there that this goes into. Okay, if you just stay in your slot long enough, you know, it pops right out. But that's okay. We're going to force you into your spot. I'm going to force you into your home. Get in your home. See, this is not going to do with that sticking out in the bottom there. I don't think that's supposed to do that. I mean, it might be okay, it might be fine. It might be fine, but I don't know for sure. What I do know for sure is my bulkhead needs to be glued all the way around. We need glue all the way around the perimeter here. And not just in the one spot. So that, guys, is about it. A little bit more there. Wow, she goes right up against those two canisters. We even got a little pipe going over the top here in between them. So yeah, I'm glad I painted those when I did, because to paint those now would be an absolute nightmare. So this has to basically be left alone for a little while for the glue to do its thing. And like I just said, let the glue do its curing and melting of the plastic and all that good stuff, so that it'll all hold. So I suppose that's where I'm going to leave it for today. All right. Let's see. I would see if next part fit first. You're saying that you need to glue air thingy some more. Yes, I did already put in some more glue down on the back and along on this side. So my air cleaner is good in there now. That's solid now. So that's all good. Thank you for reminding me. That's easy to forget. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I had, before painting everything, I did kind of see how my silver piece fits in there and stuff like that, and how this fit in. I just didn't have them all assembled, quote unquote assembled, until now. Yeah, so you test fit, oh, this is how this fits and this is how this fits. Now you start putting them together and you discover really how they fit together. But we got it done. She's done. So yeah, she's starting to look like, if you look at it in that angle, that's basically what you see in pictures online of what the interior looks like. And that's pretty cool. Although, is it just me or is that crooked? It seems crooked in there. If I put it in that angle, it looks a little crooked on camera. Yeah. Oh well. When I look at it in real life, it's pretty straight. It's pretty straight in real life. So yeah, don't pay no attention to the camera. That's a huge exaggeration. It's pretty straight in real life. The seat looks uncomfortable. Yeah, they look like very, very thin cushions, don't they? But if you look at real life pictures of this thing, the seats don't look that bad. Yeah, definitely a wire frame, but they don't look like they'd be terrible to sit on. But then again, you know, it is an armored vehicle that's not built for super comfort. But we do have workable suspension, right? The suspension works on all of these, so at least we got that. Yeah, so she's coming together, guys. She's, I believe the next step is now working on the upper hull, on the interior parts. Now that this is all done, yeah, this is the upper hull, so we're going to have to do that. Start working on our upper hull parts next time. And of course, we're going to have to do the whole painting procedure just like that. Like I did to the lower hull, I got to do it to the upper as well. With the whole gray primer, make sure everything's the same color, and then paint it all. Yeah, so that is where we're going to leave it for today. I'm going to make sure to put my glue caps back on and get that done. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the white sheet here did a better job at keeping the focus where it's supposed to be. Hopefully this was a good solution, and I can just change this sheet out once it gets dirty and stuff like that. And then, yeah, hopefully that's a little bit better for the camera. Anyway, but like I said, guys, this is where we're going to leave it for today. We'll come back again maybe tomorrow. I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for the chat, Milas, or was it, your name was Jeff, I believe, right? Is that right? Anyway, thanks for the chat. I love to see the chat. And yeah, that's where we're going to leave it for today. So I guess we'll see you all in the next one. Jerry, that's it. Sorry, Jerry.